In the year 333 BCE, the ancient world stood on the edge of transformation. A young king, Alexander of Macedon, had crossed into Asia with one goal: to bring down the mighty Persian Empire, the largest and wealthiest power on earth. He had already won a crucial victory at the Granicus River, but Alexander knew that the true confrontation was still ahead. He had not yet faced the King of Kings himself, Darius III, ruler of Persia, and their meeting would come in a narrow coastal plain called Issus. The march toward Issus. After months of advancing along the eastern Mediterranean coast, Alexander led his army through the rough, narrow pathways between the mountains and the sea. The terrain was so tight that only a few soldiers could march side by side. Meanwhile, Darius made a bold and unexpected move. Instead of waiting for Alexander in the wide plains of Mesopotamia, where the massive Persian army could spread out easily, Darius marched north, crossed the Taurus mountains, and appeared behind Alexander, cutting off his retreat. It was a dangerous maneuver, but it failed to deliver the surprise Darius hoped for. Alexander quickly realized that the Persian king was now between him and his supply lines. Standing on a hill overlooking the Persian host, Alexander turned to his officers and said, "They have trapped themselves, not us. Tomorrow we will decide the fate of Asia." The battlefield of Issus. Issus was the worst place for Darius to fight. A narrow plain squeezed between the sea and steep mountains. His enormous army, numbering in the hundreds of thousands according to ancient sources, could not deploy in full strength. Alexander, on the other hand, had a smaller, faster, and perfectly coordinated force that thrived in tight terrain. Darius placed himself at the center of his army, standing on a magnificent royal chariot, surrounded by elite archers and cavalry. His plan was simple: crush Alexander with overwhelming numbers. Alexander formed his line with precision. The companion cavalry with Alexander on the right, the phalanx in the center, the experienced General Parmenion holding the left flank under heavy pressure. But Alexander had one goal in mind: strike at Darius and end the war instantly. The battle begins. The plains of Issus exploded with the thunder of arrows. Persian archers filled the sky with missiles, and waves of infantry and cavalry pushed forward. On the Macedonian left, Parmenion was nearly overwhelmed. The Persian cavalry crashed into his lines with massive force. Issus was turning into chaos, but Alexander was waiting, watching, searching for the perfect moment. Alexander's charge. Suddenly he saw it. A small gap opening in the Persian line. A momentary weakness. Alexander immediately launched his famous oblique attack. With the companion cavalry at his side, he surged forward like a lightning bolt. Spears lowered, shields locked, horses pounding the ground. The Macedonian wedge formation cut deep into the Persian ranks, slicing through them like a blade. Alexander had one target: Darius. The fall of the Persian line. As the Macedonian cavalry closed in, Darius saw Alexander himself charging toward him. Panic spread. The royal chariot shook. Guards fell around him. The center of the Persian army began to crumble, and in the most decisive moment of the battle, Darius turned his chariot and fled. When the soldiers saw the King of Kings abandon the field, the entire Persian army collapsed. What was once a massive force became a chaotic sea of fear and retreat. Issus was over. Alexander had won. The aftermath, a turning point in history. When Darius fled, he left behind something unimaginable: his mother, his wife, his children, and a treasure of enormous wealth, all captured by Alexander.